Time is 6 p.m. I call this meeting of the Smith County Emergency Services District 2 to order and certify there is a quorum present. Commissioner Arnold, Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Dominy, Commissioner Thornton by Zoom, and myself, so we have a full board. This time, I ask everyone to stand for prayer and pledge of allegiance to the United States and Texas flags. And if you would, silence your electronic devices. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today thanking you for the many blessings you've given us. Dear Lord, we just thank you for watching over us and keeping us safe. Dear Lord, just be with our men and women as they go about the job of protecting our citizens daily. And just uplift the families of our employees and just be with them and give them the strength and courage that they need while the loved ones are away. All these things in your Son Jesus' name we ask. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Item number 3 is recognition of guests. I think we have Celeste Young with us from Delta Fire and Safety. And we have EMS with us here tonight. So that's about all I see that's here tonight. So thank you all for being here. Item 4 will be public comment. Do we have any public comments?
We have received none.
Okay. No public comments. We'll move on to item 5, which is our consent agenda. Discuss, consider, and take any necessary action related to the payment of accounts, bills, invoices, payroll, requests for reimbursement, requests for other payments, transfer of funds, and amendments. And under 5.1 will be the ratification of things that we've already approved, that the checks have been written for. And I would entertain a motion to approve that in the amount of $161,312.43. So made. Have a motion by Commissioner Dominy. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilson. Okay. All right. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed saying nay. And that motion carries. 5.2, payment of our bills. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
The only one I wanted to ask about was the glow flame butane. In the amount of the $25,000. Look back at it; those are invoices from way back into November 25, and they're normally $300, $600 each.
We did not receive any of those invoices. So the owner of GoFlame contacted us last week, and nobody knows why we never received the invoices, but now we have received them. We have set up a trustworthy system so both sides can confirm that we have received them on an ongoing basis, and this should bring us up to speed.
Okay. We weren't receiving invoices.
And also that they did not contact us.
Yeah.
For almost 6 months.
Okay, thank you. That's the only one I had a question about.
Yeah. All right. I'd entertain a motion. We approve our bills in the amount of $1,201,033.95. So made. Have a motion by Commissioner Arnold. Have a second. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay, and that motion carries. All right, 5.3 will be the district credit cards. Some of those are a little bit high, but that included deployments for hotels and stuff, which we get reimbursed for, and I think some of it had some of the safety stuff on it too.
Safety and
yeah. Okay. So
I would make the motion that we approve the payment of our credit cards under 5.3 in the amount of $31,319.24.
Have a motion by Commissioner Dominic, to pay the credit card bills, district credit card bills in the amount of $31,319.24. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries unanimously. 5.4 is our contract payments. Those are our insurance, electric bills, stipend payments, and
Contract.
quarterly contract payments to Mineola, Noonday, and Van in the amount of $50,967.44.
Make the motion that we approve the contract payments in the amount of $50,967.44.
Motion by Commissioner Dominy that we pay the credit, or payment in the amount of $50,967.44 contract payments, I'm sorry. Have a second? Second by Commissioner Arnold. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, say nay, and the motion carries unanimously. 5.5 is urgent purchases, there were none. 5.6 was emergency purchases, and there were none this time. And then 5.7 is our pre-approved payments, which there's no action to be taken on those, which is our Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas in the amount of $96,548.16, and a Verizon wireless bill in the amount of $5,385.31. So,
It's 549,
Yeah.
you said 48.
I'm sorry. Item 6 would be approval of the minutes of the February 23rd stated meeting.
And I wasn't in attendance.
No, you wouldn't. I looked over the minutes and approved them. They were fine, but I would entertain a motion for somebody to approve them.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Dominic, we approve the board minute meeting for February 23rd, 2026. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arnold. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries unanimously. Item 7, Executive Director's Report.
So as usual, I will bring out a few highlights. You have the written report. So first of all, I would like to give big credits to Keith Beam and to Larry Locke, for the district has received yet again, second year in a row, the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association. So that is good news, and I've also asked Nikki to bring that out to our social media so we can get credit for it. In a few weeks, April 6th through April 10, the Emergency Services Consulting International will be on site to interview people and speak to people and proceed further with the strategic plan. Meetings have been set up with all the commissioners, with all the VFD chiefs, and also with the representatives of the elected representatives and some city managers for all the various small communities around Troop, Boulder, Winona, etc., as well as the Smith County commissioners. It'll be toastmastered by the ESCI in this particular boardroom, and we will get external community input into the strategic plan. And to keep it clean, none of our own commissioners were invited, because that is not the purpose of the meeting, and it just causes confusion. So don't feel slighted because of that level.
I get my opportunity to talk to them sometime.
Yeah, you all get your own opportunity. As Larry will proceed further, the Jamestown Station project is proceeding very rapidly now, and the deadline, we're hoping to have it all up and running within 60 days. The Chief will tell you more about the training field later on. There's gonna be an open meeting there, or a gathering, where we invite the commissioners to come and see the new and greatest improvements to the training field. Moving over to finances, in the report, you only see the sales tax revenue for February, but as of today, the March numbers came in, and the March numbers basically validated what February also proven, and that is that we are gradually catching up to make up for that one taxpayer that paid a lot of taxes last year, but not so much this year. And everything is according to plan. We should come in slightly better than what the budget is. The operating performance, Keith recently updated our little internal spreadsheet where we try to forecast. And although the margin or the variance is getting a little tighter, right now it looks like total payroll expense will come in within budget. Similar to last year, the overtime will be above budget, but all the rest will come in below budget. So net is going to be within budget. On the investment income, I can only say thank you to the Federal Reserve. That should also come in better than what we budgeted. It keeps ticking very nicely. So that is all I have. Oh, I do have one more thing. Originally, we had told the board that the auditors were going to present the audit in this board meeting. Due to some delays of final sign-off from the auditing partner, that will be in the next meeting, in the April meeting. So the audit is pretty much done. It's just we're waiting for the final sign-off from the audit partner, Osquires. And that concludes my review.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Eric? Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
All right. Item 8 will be the financial reports. Keith?
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. If we can, let's look at the budget versus actual comparison through February 28th. So we're 5 months into the fiscal year. We're right at 41%. And we've received 90% of our property tax already. The remaining 10% will trickle in over the next 7 months. Sales tax, Eric's already mentioned. And then total overall revenues we're receiving revenues as it was budgeted. So there were really surprises with revenues. Compensation, obviously we are scrutinizing, as Eric mentioned as well. I will mention for workers' comp, we'll exceed what's budgeted for this year. But last year in July, we received $140,000 in dividends, which offset offset the expense from last year, but we can't record it as an expense. The auditors want us to record it as miscellaneous income. The previous year, we recorded $89,000 in dividends. So I really don't know what we're going to receive this year. We should get something in July. But again, the way the auditors would like us to do it, historically, we would record it as a reduction in expenses. They want us to record it as revenue, miscellaneous, and then just record the expenses as they come in. But I'll update as that happens. But again, there will be, and for FY 27, we'll budget differently for workers' comp as well. Overall, expenses are, again, no surprises. There's a few deficits in places that have actually been there for a while. We do have a deficit in technology subscriptions, but I'm working with IT, and they're going to tidy up some purchase orders, and that will not be a deficit at our next board meeting. And then we had some small deficits with rental equipment, but that had to do with the ice storm that we had. So overall, again, there's no surprises, and expenses and revenues are occurring as essentially was budgeted.
Okay.
And I can answer any questions that anyone may have.
Anybody have any?
No, it's playing out just kind of what we all take this one. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Moving on, item number 9, Director of Human Resources report. Ms. Sherry?
Hi, before you use my HR report, we are in the middle of a hiring and promotional opportunities going on for captain, driver, and lieutenant. All of those interviews have been concluded, and we will be announcing the results soon. I just don't have them tonight. We have hired 2 firefighters that started today. And then we have filled the administrative support specialist position, and that's with Liz Castillo, and she is here tonight. I'd like to introduce her to the board.
All right, nice to have you.
And we have also filled the fleet technician and fleet PM technician positions, but they're not here tonight, so I'm going to wait to introduce them till next board meeting. And then the administrative performance evaluations were completed on March 11th, and so that is done at this time. Do you have any questions for me on this report?
Okay. And 9.2 is discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on updating operations, vacation, sick leave, and holiday policies.
Before you is a proposal that's been put together for a revision to the operations paid time off policies. The purpose of this is to align it more closely with the administrative paid time off policies, ensuring greater consistency, equity, and clarity across the employee groups. Currently, the admin policy, they accrue at 130 hours annually, and the maximum carryover is 320 hours that carries over in January 1st of each year. The current operations policy accrues at 195 hours annually with the maximum carryover of 195 hours. And the accrual actually stops once the 195 hours is reached. And then it resumes again when they use their time, their sick time, or their vacation time, and then it starts accruing again. So what that means is, say they reach 195 hours in June, they don't accrue again until they drop down, and then they start accruing, and then when they reach the max, they stop again, and so on. So that's how that works. But I'm proposing that in order to make it more equitable between admin and operations, that we increase the operations maximum carryover to 480 hours, and that we remove the accrual stoppage when the balance reaches the maximum, instead applying the cap only to the January 1st carryover. So it would be just like how admin works. I'm also proposing that we require a 2-week notice for employees to receive vacation payout upon separation, and that would also align with admin's policy. No, I know, I'm not there yet. Okay. And then under the sick leave comparison, the accrual for admin is 78 hours annually. The maximum carryover is 640 hours. And there's also an incentive that 32 hours accumulated above the 640 converts to 8 hours of vacation leave. The operations policy currently is they accrue at 117 hours annually, and their maximum carryover is 780 hours. To make the 2 plans equitable, I propose that we add the 96 hours accumulated above the 780-hour maximum and grant them 24 hours of vacation leave. The other thing, in order to make the plans equitable between admin and operations, is that we would not compensate for unused sick leave upon separation, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. And then the holiday policy comparison. Currently, admin receives 14 paid holidays annually. Operations receives 12 holidays annually, or 144 hours. And those hours are put into a holiday bank so that at the employee's discretion they can use it throughout the year. The holiday that they're missing that admin has is the day after Thanksgiving and admin day, administrative paid holiday. I'm proposing that we add in that extra day of the day after Thanksgiving and give them 13 days of holiday or 156 hours annually. So again, the rationale between all these proposal changes is that it promotes consistency between the employee groups, it ensures equitable treatment and actual flexibility and benefits, it reduces administrative complexity through standardized rules, and it also supports morale, retention, and transparency. Do you have any questions on any of that?
Yeah, the only one that I have a question on is on your holidays.
Yes.
You're currently looking at, the admin gets a 8-hour day for holiday. And what you're proposing is going to be a 12-hour day.
That's how it's,
12-hour days.
right, that is actually how it's done now, is the 12 hours for every holiday that they receive. And it has to do with, we figured this out, it has to do with how many hours within a week on an average, and it's 12 hour, or not in a week. How did we do that? Because we figured it out together, but it's been a while since I've looked at that part of it. But it is figured out at 12 hours, and it is equitable when you figure out the hours. I just can't recall at the top of my head how we did that. But that has been the standard, is the 12 hours per holiday,
So you said equitable to what?
to 8 hours for admin.
Quick math tells me that it's about 40 hours more.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can't remember how that was arrived. Do you? Yeah, thank you.
It has to do with that we're on a 40-hour work week and they're on a 56-hour work week, and the 7 days exemption within the LSA.
Is that how the, okay, thank you. Okay, okay. I apologize. I could not remember how that was arrived. It's 12 hours? Okay.
Yeah, I understand 12 hours, but what I was really questioning was the number of annual hours. You're moving them up to 156.
It's adding,
Extra day.
right, adding another 12 to 144.
Yeah, versus what, if we're trying to make it equitable to admin's getting 112 hours.
Yes, but it still equates to the same number of holidays.
Yeah, the days.
Yeah, but it's hours paid. So the real questions go back to what's the additional cost going to be?
For that one day?
Because you're giving them an extra 12 hours.
Right. I don't know if I have that figured out. Yeah, I did not factor in the extra day. So I can come back with that if you want that.
Listen, so everything up to this point in time appears to be trying to get them close to apples to apples. And this is one area that it doesn't appear to be
Apples to apples?
apples to apples, and that's the reason.
But with the conversion.
Yeah, with the conversion,
Yeah, it's still 156 hours versus 112.
well,
So, and I'm interested in knowing do we look at the cost associated with making these changes? And if you don't have it specific to just this one item, do you have it for the entire package?
I do have it for vacation and sick. I just did not consider the vacation, the holiday. So I apologize for that.
So what is it,
But-
vacation and sick?
Vacation and sick, the financial impact, do you want to pass that to them? I think it'd be easier for them to see that. Couldn't figure it out based on this. 12 hours times that. I don't,
I'd rather sit down and think about
okay,
it.
okay, all right. Okay, the financial impact for the vacation leave liability and sick leave. Under our current actual liability for the 2025 audit, vacation leave liability was $492,732, and the sick leave liability is $754,231, for a total leave liability of $1,246,963. Under the vacation leave liability, that we're proposing in, changing it from 195 to the, 480 hours, the hypothetical future liability would be $1,221,391. But if we are not paying out the sick leave liability, which is on the next page, that's $754,231, which is in the proposal to not pay that out when someone terminates. So that would offset our current liability from 2025. So yes, there is an increase to vacation, but you would not have the sick leave liability, potentially.
I guess I'm not understanding how you would think that you would save $754,000 of sick leave. I mean, people are gonna take the sick leave. So it's
Some
not-
will
it's not
take
savings
it,
there,
yes. That's why I said it's potential. I mean, if you just look at what's currently on the books, that's a potential.
I mean, anything that we do is gonna be just, potentially it's just gonna push it out. It'll still be due and owing at the time that they wanna collect it. Even though we raised the cap, it still doesn't take away the liability associated with it. So the real, I think what I'm seeing, the real cost is, additional $600,000 or $700,000.
Yes, I mean, if you look at that and don't consider the sick leave on it.
So how much sick leave do they forfeit? On separation? Probably minimal.
Right now, they don't forfeit any.
Right, okay, well, how much would they potentially then? And I would say it's probably minimal, so I think there's a significant cost to us here.
Mhm.
And I just need to understand what that cost is and then how we expect to pay for it. I'm not opposed to what you put together or the proposal, I just don't understand what the financial implications will be to us. And to be frank, you haven't presented it that you know what it is either.
Well, I mean, like I said, on the sick leave, it's just a potential because you can't exactly say.
But you know it's not
So-
754.
Well, like I said, I was just going off what the audit had from last year.
I think you could do a snapshot of those that left the district voluntarily and otherwise, and look at what the percentage was left in the bank.
Yeah, what would have been potentially forfeited.
Yes, which would just be a hypothetical, but at least we would have a visual of
Why
kind of.
don't we table this till next month and let them get all that information together and bring it back to us and
Okay.
present it?
Okay.
That'd be
Okay.
fine?
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's
Okay.
fine.
I mean, it's gonna have to be a lot of guesswork, because we don't know what's gonna happen,
Right.
right?
A guess is better than nothing. I mean, your guess is gonna have to be based off of some assumptions, and as long as they're reasonable assumptions, then you can present a feasible cost associated with it. But just not having any ideas,
When you
Not
say
separate.
cost, are you referring to the impact on the operating budget, or
Yes.
are you referring to the balance sheet?
operating budget, what are we gonna do? Well, it's gonna be both, really. Because you can move monies up and down and help out on the balance sheet, but what's actual going to be physical expenditure that we will incur?
We actually spoke about that, and as far as I understand, it's not gonna be any cost to the operating budget.
I don't
Because
understand.
we're not increasing the number of vacation days anybody gets. All we're doing is increasing what they can save up,
Right, and that's what I
right?
said.
And that doesn't increase the operating
No,
cost.
that's right, I agree with you there.
Right. So, to answer your question, it's not gonna cost anything in terms of the operating budget. They're not accruing any more vacation, they're getting the same number of vacation days.
So sick leave, same way,
Same way there.
Same way, yeah. We're
They're
not
not getting any
increasing
more
it.
sick
and
leave.
vacation,
Pardon?
and vacation.
They're not getting any more vacation days.
Yeah, they're getting one more day.
They can bank.
No, holidays, yes, they're getting one more
Okay,
holiday.
sorry. Yeah,
Not
holiday,
vacation.
not vacation, yeah,
I
holiday.
know that's what,
One more holiday is what they're getting.
All I'm asking is that y'all put it in a form that clearly demonstrates what those potential costs will be and what your assumptions are.
Okay.
All right, we'll table that item till next meeting and put it on the agenda again.
Okay.
All right?
You wanna mention?
oh, yes, thank you. I don't have this in the agenda tonight, but there was also talked about having a vacation leave sellback policy, where that,
It's not in the agenda. I'm afraid you don't
We
need
can't
that.
talk about it if it's
Okay.
not on the agenda.
It would fall under the same policy item on the agenda, so.
Yeah.
Does the agenda have to be that detailed? It's still under the same policy items.
That item is in the vacation or the holiday or the sick policy.
It's not in what's given to us
It's
now.
not part of the written
Yes.
outline exactly what that agenda item is.
I think since we're already tabling and it's not been presented in the packet, we better
Okay.
delay that.
okay, that's fine.
Be included in the next.
Yeah,
Okay.
included. All right. And 9.3 would be workforce injuries. That's yours, Ms. Sherry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just write it, make it a note.
Okay.
Okay, the workforce injuries, we had one injury for the month of March that resulted in a loss of work time. You have that before you. I do have something to add, in that the person had surgery on 3/12, and they'll be out till 3/27 per the doctor's status report.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all.
Any other questions for Sherry on any of it? Okay. Move on to item 10, community outreach coordinator.
Good evening. Okay, if we back up to the beginning of March, we were really focused, and we really still are, on the weather and the potential for wildland fires. And so we had this awesome opportunity to push in the brush truck over at Chapel Hill, and thank goodness we finished when we did, because we very quickly moved to the northern part of the county and flooded Lindale with resources to help with some major fires going on out there. So we really spent a lot of time talking to the media about the dangers of outdoor burning, voluntarily asking them not to, even though we weren't under a burn ban, and just communicating the potential risk there. So we spent a lot of time doing that. We also got to work in a career day with Chapel Hill at Wise Elementary. We have some other events coming up in the next several weeks with some of our schools as they're wrapping up the end of the school year. We had the time change, so of course we promoted the NFPA recommendation that everyone start changing their smoke detectors. I know I'm talking to a room full of first responders, so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have experience in the EMS world, this is going to be something you're familiar with. We had a lot of, we had several successful baby deliveries recently. And so I worked with the team, and you will start seeing stork stickers on the engines for those who have had a successful delivery, which is a pretty common practice on the back of ambulances. So I know some of you are familiar with that. So that's pretty exciting. And then the big project I know that you have all been waiting for was our website, which did launch. And I really want to give a shout out to Brent, because he worked very hard behind the scenes with all the coding. And I know Larry stepped in. And so so far we're happy with that and how it looks. And we're going to be adding to and updating. So if you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to go check it out. And the budget award is up in our spotlight section, and we'll add it throughout the website, so as well as social media. So just excited to see that come to fruition.
I did look at the website, and there's several items in there that are outdated.
Yes, so when they moved the website over, they took a snapshot at a certain date to get all of that data captured and then shifted it over. So I've worked with some of the department heads. Right now, as far as anything legally, policies regarding finance or elections, that information should be accurate. So what we're going through right now is, like I know Amy was like, hey, can you update this piece of it in regards to finance? I talked to Carla the other day over in Fleet, and so I'm working with her and Chief on the best pictures for when you look at the page that talks about all of the different apparatus that we have, making sure that those numbers are accurate, those pictures are up to date, and any advances. And so working with each department individually, because it's possible that maybe even just how progressive we've moved and how far advanced we've moved, that information might be outdated. So we're working to update those information. So like one thing would be the command trailer. I talked to Brent about that the other day. That's about photo opportunity ready, so we'll get that information updated.
So how about the board vacancy? Chief Arnold, Mr. Arnold's been here for some time now, and it still shows a board vacancy.
On the board, okay, I know all of the all of y'all's contact information should be updated, because it was updated way before the snapshot day even was there. So if that's an old PDF or just an old,
So it still shows Commissioner Arnold as over the Art Fire Department. It also shows Gene Champion still listed.
so
there.
yes, so all of the information for our volunteer pages will get updated. Yes, so it's just a piece at a time, because again, from that snapshot date to now. So, and there might be information, like I'm obviously not privy to everything that is, regarding finance. So just taking that a step at a time to make sure that I have everybody's information accurate.
So as long as we're aware that we.
Yes, oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
So we'll probably at least take the board vacancy off.
Just to clarify, I'm not sure when you pulled that, but as of right now, I'm looking at the site, Commissioner Arnold is listed under the Board of Commissioners.
Right, and he was when I looked at it, but there's another tab underneath board vacancies that showed that position open. Okay.
Okay.
But good website, I mean, just as I'm going through looking at it, there's just a few things that stuck out to me that we just need to follow up on.
Yes.
It loads fast.
Yeah.
Much faster.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Item 11, Assistant Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll start off with the good news. All support services positions are now fully staffed. As Ms. Sherry mentioned to you earlier, we have filled both fleet maintenance positions. And for those of you that were at our last meeting, you know that we filled the facilities maintenance spot as well. All three of those staff members should be at our next meeting for introductions. With the fleet positions, we found two highly qualified and experienced candidates. One of them is an EBT master. So we're back up to full functionality in the shop, full staffing. So it's going to take them a little bit to get onboarded and tools moved around and things organized the way that they want, but I think they're already turning some pretty good repairs out for us. Carlos' team in fleet, despite being understaffed during the month, continued to maintain operational readiness. They actually fairly well held. If you look at my report, you'll see that the backlog did grow, but it only grew by 4 or 5 apparatus, so we anticipate that to start coming down rapidly. Brandon's team in facilities saw significant performance gains, a couple of metric points to still work on, mainly in response time. We're working through those. A lot of those have to do with system-generated tickets, and we know what that problem is, so we'll start to address those. They also saw some major reductions in response times and steady progress on work order and infrastructure projects with a focus on preventative maintenance and completion of some of our major project initiatives. Laura's team in logistics reduced the backlog, have drastic improvements to SLA compliance, and completed all the Jamestown procurement. And they've also started on inventory reconciliation and doing cycle counts. Brent's team in IT advanced key initiatives, including the CAD, Knoxbox, and the district-wide computer refresh projects, as well as assisting Nikki with the new public website. Keith and Amy and I have kicked off the budget process. We've done some internal meetings with the budget admin team, and we already have an internal budget kickoff meeting scheduled with all the budget owners. So that process is underway. We'll shortly share a calendar with y'all so you can start blocking those dates off. If y'all will remember, we're pretty statutorily required to have meetings on certain days and to try to work Saturdays in. We don't have really any flexibility. So we're going to get those to you early so that y'all can plan in advance. So expect that to come out within the next couple of weeks. As far as projects go, the Jamestown station is nearing completion. All major construction milestones have been achieved, and we have some final touch-up items underway, some gutters that have to go in, finalization of some floors in a couple of areas, and really just some tidying up, painting, and getting some counters installed. So we're very close to being complete. I expect that project to come in ahead of schedule and right at or under budget. Jackson Heights Station 32 remodel is addressed later in this agenda. Just quick note that The modular home is well into production now, the modular that's gonna go there first before going to a different location. And I think that it's gonna come off probably the first or second week of April, so this is timing out just right. Watson is also finalizing the Jamestown project, and so they're our recommended vendor you'll see coming up, and so they'll be able to move right into this project if they are awarded. The mobile command platform is also progressing towards completion. We've had some slowdowns with conflicting projects, as well as some slowdowns in getting competitive bids on a few items. All that's left on that is really finishing the conference room, getting a table made and a bench seat installed, and so we're rapidly moving towards that being completed. It is operationally ready at this point and has already made a couple of incidents. In closing, we're back to full level and performance metrics are trending positively, and we're positioned to continue supporting operations. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Larry. Anybody have anything for Larry? Okay. 11.2, discuss, consider, and take action on replacing the administration building septic system replacement at a cost of $12,850. Authorize the staff to contract Ben Franklin Plumbing for the replacement and upgrade of the septic system serving administration building complex. Larry?
Commissioners, as you know, this was a budgeted project, long-term issue at admin. The system design was done by Joey Riggles originally, and then subsequently by our contract vendor J&J, also known as Ben Franklin Plumbing. We do have one other bid on this, just to make sure our contract vendor was giving us a good deal. That other cost came in around $15,710, and that was through Joey Riggles. Our contract allows us to go out for extra bids just in case for larger projects like this, but they are well within the standard. This is going to completely replace all three existing conventional septic systems at admin with one aerobic system, and came in significantly under budget.
Just one comment, is really just for clarity around that. I had you ask the question about why we have a quote from J&J versus Ben Franklin.
Yes.
So I would recommend when we make the motion that we would actually use the entity name on the quote rather than the Ben Franklin on here to make, so there's no question about it.
I'm just fine with that. Yes, sir.
Can you address the slight discrepancy in numbers too?
Thank you. Yes, I think there's a typo in the actual header from 12,850. The funding request is accurate as well as the recommended action. 12,865 is the total.
I'll make the motion that we authorize staff to contract J&J Commercial for the replacement and upgrade of the septic system serving admin building complex at a cost of $12,865.
Motion by Commissioner Domney to authorize staff to contract with J&J Commercial for the replacement and upgrade of the septic system serving the administration building complex at a cost of $12,865. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries unanimously. 11.3, discuss and consider taking action on Winona Station 28 shower replacement at a cost of $7,800.
Commissioners, this has been an ongoing issue. This is at the Winona Station that's out near Gladewater, out by the county line. We've had numerous technicians try to seal this. Operations staff have tried to seal this. We've had ongoing leaks where the water is getting below the tiles. It's coming up in the floors. I think that we might even have a cracked shower pan. This would be another scenario where it is Ben Franklin Plumbing on the recommendation, but it is J&J Commercial Services on the back side of that. So I would recommend that we move forward replacing this shower completely for that $7,800 from our contract vendor.
Was that a full turnkey? I didn't see a quote attached to it.
It is a full turnkey. It's complete. It's going to be, and I'm not sure why the quote's not showing up. It's going to be solid surface. So instead of individual little tiles, it's going to be solid surface, a complete replacement.
make the motion to authorize staff to contract J&J Commercial Plumbing, J&J Commercial for the replacement of the shower at Winona Station 28, the cost not to exceed $7,800.
Motion by Commissioner Dominy, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arnold. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
No.
Opposed, say nay, and that motion carried unanimously. 11.4, discuss, consider, and take any action on replacement and relocation of Rich Springs Station 22 HVAC system at a cost of $16,030.
Commissioners, this is for the fire station that's out in the fleet maintenance complex. It's pretty cramped quarters. We've added a lot of additional living spaces in there over time through the remodel projects. The system is aging. It's over 20 years old. It is really not suited for what it's having to air condition at this point. It also does not have ducts into all of the rooms, and it's located in a utility closet. That utility closet is valuable space in such a small station. So what we've asked to do is replace this unit proactively, place it into the attic space, run completely new ducting, right-size the unit for the station size. That would allow us to actually relocate the ice machine as well as the washer and dryer from outside in the bay to inside in the utility room. So this is accomplishing multiple things for us as well, under budget and as a line item budgeted capital project.
I'll make a motion, we approve the HVAC system project at Red Springs Station 22 and authorize staff to proceed with the project utilizing district contractor service provider J&J Commercial at a cost of $16,030.
Motion by Commissioner Dominy, have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries unanimously. 11.5, discuss, consider, and take any action on the Jackson Heights remodel project at a cost of $1,344,200. And approve Watson Construction for the remodel. And allow the staff to sign any related documents.
Commissioners, this is a line item capital budgeted project. It is slightly over the original budgeted amount by about $44,000. We do recommend proceeding with this entire remodel. The firefighters right now are sleeping in an approximately 10 by 12 room shared with a data enclosure, no secondary means of egress. The living quarters have no exterior windows. It's a very cramped environment. It also only has one bathroom and shower. This is a complete gut and remodel of that fire station's living quarters. It will take in one of the existing apparatus bays to 1.5, depending on the alternatives that we select. And this is why we needed the modular building to come into place. The firemen will move into the modular. The apparatus bays will remain functional during the remodel project. Access will be provided by the contractor. Safe passage will be through dedicated walkways. All of this has been coordinated with the vendors through the evaluation process. There are several alternatives listed in this. So the base bid, it takes in the additional apparatus bay, creates individual living quarters, creates a vestibule, creates 3 pantries, placement for 3 fridges, remodels the kitchen, and adds in really those dedicated living spaces and utility rooms, and an additional bathroom, full bathroom. The alternatives listed are for a new gym, for concrete pavement around the back. The original bid request was for basically a 2-lane concrete driveway around the back of the facility where we have crushed asphalt at this point. We did some value engineering to reduce that to about a full lane, so there's a reduction in that cost. There was an alternative listed for exterior improvements, placing a new brick facade on the building, which staff recommends against. Alternative 4 was the technology scope. We did not have a bid from the selected vendor on this. And really, this is for a building distributed amplifier for cell phones. This isn't really a requirement, and so that's really not a problem that there's no bid on this. And alternative 5 was new signage, and that's an allowance for us. So that cost may be reduced based on the signage package that we select at the time. One thing to note is that this evaluation turned out that we're not recommending the low bid. We're recommending the best value in this case. When you really look at all of the items that we're selecting in the alternatives, there's not much of a delta between the price. It really comes down to the experience and the reputation of the low bid vendor and past performance history that we have with that vendor.
If I may add one thing, the 44,200, which is essentially above what was budgeted, is pretty much completely made up from the savings that were achieved for the relocation of the Red Springs HVAC and the septic system at admin, because those were budgeted much, much higher than what the actual quotations came in at.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
First, thank you for clarifying what BDA was, because I had no idea.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, John, yes. Or Mac, whoever.
I was just looking at this, and y'all are recommending alternative 1 and 5. Is that what?
1, 5, and a modified alternative 2. The modified alternative 2 would be a reduction in scope to go from 2 lanes to 1 lane.
From a functionality standpoint, on the back of the bays, it's only one pull-through bay. The other is a back-end bay where the brush truck would back in. So they're not both pull-through. It's a bay and a half of capacity that we have in the firehouse at that point. That's correct.
I'm looking at the new gym room, and I realize they put one in Art, and I know they put one in Flint, but everybody else is having to make do as best they can. Is that correct?
There's a variety of conditions that are across the district, some that are better than others. And you gave 2 good examples of new construction. But what I would say is that, creating some type of space, trying to, basically capture the essence of creating a firehouse that has the functionality to it, the cancer reduction initiatives that, are attempted to be made, and yet the values, trying to hold down the cost as much as possible. So Larry mentioned the vestibule, the airlock spaces that, capture from the outdoor or in the bay versus directly into the living space. So that's one of the firehouse designs that are attempted to be made now in most firehouses. The ice maker being out of the bay and being in that vestibule is another example of trying to create those spaces. So the workout room, can it be done in the bay? Yes, sir. But the reality is that's not really a preferred method to do it. It's a make do.
60,700, is that just for the room and the mats? Does that include any equipment?
That is just for rooms, mats, and the climate control and life safety features.
The only thing I can say is I know they've got exercise rooms over at Flint, but they usually go down to Anytime Fitness and work out most of the time, or whatever.
And even the ARP station, they go up to the school most of the time to work out because the equipment's that much better.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of options for Jackson, the 32 house. Anything pulls them radically out of district, as you know. Yeah. If they're to go all the way back up to the loop, you've created some definite response challenges.
So if we build this room for $60,700, then we gotta come back and we're gonna get a request for equipment to go in it. How much is that?
FF&E on this, with the equipment, definitely a package there. I know that the workout equipment that we've priced out is about the $20,000 range. That includes the treadmill, the rowers, a rack, gymnasium, kind of.
Saying it's about 10,000.
It's north of 10 is where those run.
However, at this
Will we
point,
look
there
at
is work.
that At the next budget year then? They'll make do with what they got until we can.
We would have to. Yes, sir.
Yeah, as Victor say, there is workout equipment there now, so that would move into that room until we, and that may even be something that we have to look at, trying to standardize some equipment and buy some equipment for more than just this one station. It may be a package deal across a few
If
facilities.
we're gonna be buying equipment like this, then I think we do need to standardize.
Buy to a standard.
Yeah.
And we have began that work already in terms of what that spec looks like.
Y'all need to figure all that out and get it ready by the next budget meeting, or next budget next year. I'm not opposed to it, but
I mean, the way, we all sat down and discussed through each alternative. What we came down with, the recommendation of 1, 5, and partial of the number 2, basically is a acceptable compromise, I'd say, amongst all the competing interests here.
Well, some of that, if you look at those alternates, for example, the facade, it's not functionality, it's aesthetics.
Yeah.
So we really tried to get back to functionality of the firehouse and make sure that the cost was related to that.
But we broke it out and give you the full transparency of all the alternatives, so the commissioners can form their own opinion.
What's the value engineering value that, takes the 195 down to what?
It's about a $50,000 cut, I believe, in total cost.
Third line from the bottom.
Yeah, it's 56. Well, no, that's the offset.
Reducing the cost from 195 to 144.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 51,000.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think I have an opposition to, going with the recommended alternatives. Acknowledging that we're gonna use the same equipment for now, and if we'll look at equipment across the district next year's budget cycle.
It's a different decision.
Yeah, okay.
So you're okay with it, with alternative 1, 2, and 5?
Yeah, with 1, 5, and modified 2.
Modified 2, okay.
Which, for clarity, that is what's in the recommendation, and the cost associated with that is calculated thus
With
far.
modified, yeah.
I'd entertain a motion on that then.
I'll make the motion that we approve the Watcher Construction Start Jackson Heights remodel at a cost of $1,344,200, which is inclusive of the quote plus alternate 1, alternate 5, and the modified alternate number 2, and that we would authorize staff to sign associated documents.
Have a motion by Commissioner Dominey. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Arnold. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries unanimously. All right. All right. Give me just a second, I'm gonna pull it back up.
It's being slow today.
Yeah. All right. discuss, consider, and take any action on annual preventative maintenance and quarterly air testing of all ESD2, SCBA, Cascade Systems, Metro Fire is contracted for that. And I guess what staff is recommending that we do.
Yes, sir. This is a pretty standard request for us. We are working with this vendor. Brandon's reached out to him to try to get all of ours onto a single schedule. So next year, we can just bring you one document, one approval authorization, and just go ahead and do it. So you may see that kind of migrate to, just like we do the technology subscriptions going forward. This will be within budget. And we are asking for a small contingency to utilize the remaining budget for any repairs that they may find as necessary during the event.
And so the budget amount is $23,110?
Yes, sir. That is the budget amount.
Okay, so you're asking for us to approve it at $10,704 plus the add-on to bring it up to full budget for unanticipated repairs, whatever.
Just in case we run into any repairs. Yes, sir.
Entertain a motion on that.
Make the motion to authorize staff to contract Metro Fire to perform the annual Cascade System PMS and quarterly air sample testing for April 2026 in the amount of $10,704. The approved budget would include contingency for unanticipated repairs or necessary repairs for the full value of $23,110.
Let me clarify that.
Okay?
I think we misunderstood each other. We have already utilized $11,000 of that budget for the last round of testing. So the total amount requested is the $10,704. That includes the contingency amount for repairs.
Okay. Fair enough. Then I'll withdraw my motion and I'll restate it as authorize staff to contract Metro Fire to perform the annual Cascade System PMS and quarterly air sampling testing for April 2026 in the amount of $10,704.
Okay, have a motion by Commissioner Donovan. You have a second? Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Item 12, Chief of Operations report.
Good evening, gentlemen. Quite a few things to shed some light on where we're at operationally and things that are ongoing. You've heard tonight already about Jamestown and our plan to go live within the next 60 days. We're hopeful that maybe that could be a little bit sooner, but realistically making sure that we're targeting and tracking for the 60-day window. Having just toured the facility within the week, a lot of good progress and excited to see how it's shaping up. It's coming together to be a very functional operation. Everything from the compressors that are installed, generator backups that are on site, fueling systems, everything's coming together, including the moving of the house appears to be a rather fabulous idea. The space is being finished out in such a way that each of the individual spaces have 3 closets in there, so it's functioning firehouse-like. I think that it will serve the district for a number of years until such a need occurs that we do something different. So I'm proud to report that it's coming together nicely. I've also included in this report the drone report. Hunter Rath has been serving the district. We've authorized him to utilize his personal drone as a volunteer to the district and has been serving across the district. In that reported a number of flights that were conducted, 41 flights to be exact. 12 of those were on incidents, and the average flight time was right at an hour, 58 minutes. So having been on some of those fires, it is invaluable information to gain situational awareness of the incident and be able to determine where things are forward progressing, where we should deploy additional resources, especially in the wildland environment. So we're really appreciative of his work to continue that for the district. I do want to point out an error in that top paragraph. The actual calls for the month of February are 981 and not 1,037. Chief Smith has been working diligently with all the stakeholders on the CAD project, including fleet, to get installation of the equipment, so things are moving along nicely. We've partnered up with the other agencies that are involved in really designing those response model plans, and those are coming together nicely for all three agencies. We've really overcome the friction and moving forward, where do we go from here? So excited about that and what that looks like in the next couple of months. And really, we have a go live date of late April that we anticipate that we're working directly with the sheriff's office, dispatch office, to make sure that we can achieve that plan. You recently approved our warm zone PPE, our gear. All of that has come in. You saw me distribute the directives throughout the district, and so we're postured in a much better way. I'm sad to report that the county continues to have incidents that are of that nature and that we're responding to or are part of, and so I'm pleased that we've now got ourselves in a much better posture to protect our own. Actively working with our volunteer chiefs on the 3,000-gallon tankers, the tenders that are grant awarded from TFS for this budget cycle. We also have that included in the capital budget for replacements of some of those tenders, specifically at Flint Gresham, at White House, and at ARP. And so all of those are in play. We now have all three of the proposals that have been provided to us by the manufacturers and are soon to be able to make a recommendation to this board for moving forward. We'll run that through a bid evaluation tabulation and should have that in short order, maybe within the week. A lot of different things that are happening in the industry pushing us to say, hey, move faster, but that always happens out there. But some of the chassis are becoming a little more strained in terms of all of the grant funding that occurred in the state of Texas. So I just bring that to light for further discussion as we move forward. Training facility is ready for a open house, if you will, an opportunity to demonstrate the components that we have within the facility that we can train on, including stairwell, isolation protection, forward hose movement, laddering, ventilation, search, recovery, all those things that we can do within the facility. So we'll be able to walk you through and show you some of those things, watch an engine company do a rapid attack kind of scenario to where you can see how this plays out, how the facility will work for us. I can tell you that I've been in a multitude of facilities across the state, and given the amount of money that we've spent on this compared to the things that it will accomplish, I'm proud to report to you that our money is well spent. With that said, Mr. Edstrom had reported on ESCI, and yes, all of that stuff is moving forward. We've been doing internal surveys and a lot of different work within getting ready for their arrival in the early part of April. Proud to report that NFPA 1851 gear cleaning and repairs were done on site. We worked with the vendor here on site and did a volume of repairs and cleaning and inspections that took place over about a 2.5, 3 week period. Very, very nice to be able to work directly with the vendor right there on site and be able to see the repair, be able to see the damages to our gear, be able to see the clean gear and what it looks like afterwards. So it's pretty neat to have them right here on site, and so I'm thankful that we were able to do that. You also don't lose control of the gear and find it in transit somewhere where we have trouble getting it back, or what happened to it, or did it get lost or put off to the side somewhere. Sherry had reported to you a moment ago about our promotional processes. Those have been ongoing, as you know, from our recruiting efforts. We were recruiting promotions from both inside and external applicants. We had a volume of applicants that applied with us and have gone through the processes, and those details are forthcoming. Yes, we did start two firefighters that were part of the oldest list that we went back and finished out the list and exhausted that final list. So what's next is it's time to recruit again, and we anticipate doing that in short order, kicking off a recruit, which will allow us to build that list and make sure that we have a list on hand that we can hire from. That's a good synopsis. I'm sure you had an opportunity to scan through the report. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Just on the recruitment, we should have enough historical data now to tell us kind of where we're at as far as staffing needs and the amount of voluntary leaves that we have. And so we kind of start forecasting the resource need. I mean, this having fully staffed is going to be key to mitigating the overtime costs that we have.
Correct.
And it's going to become even more important as we look at this new policy. So if, at some point in time in the near future, I'd appreciate if you kind of lay out a plan on how you can keep us ahead of the staffing needs, not slightly behind.
Yeah, correct. If you'll recall, back in April of last year, we implemented the new staffing plan, which got us into 24/7 staffing at all of our facilities, and you remember that distinctly. One of the things that we did to accomplish that and stay within budget was we reduced one of our buffer staffs, actually two of our buffer staffs, and so we're in a situation where when we go negative in terms of vacancies, it does compound on us, no doubt about it. So we'll come back for you for sure.
I look like what I want to make sure I'm clear is that I want to be looking at getting ahead of the recruiting and hiring process, so that I'm not advocating that we're overstaffed.
Correct.
But we're staffed at the appropriate level to try to say it's year on year that we have this overtime cost that exceeds what our budget is each year, and I want to try to make sure that we're addressing that to the extent we can.
If you remember when I first arrived, we did a deep dive analysis and looked at those accruals on the books and the liabilities related to each firefighter and what their available time to take off. And we looked at the historical data on each of those positions. We've grown extensively since then. It is definitely time to go back in and review that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Anybody else? No. Okay. We'll move on to item 13, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on fire chief presenting and discussing issues with the board for future actions. Is anybody here from ARP? Nope. Okay. All right. Board? Chief again.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We'll start out with the positive news. I've certainly been keeping HR busy. I reported on this last month, and it has continued. We brought on 3 new firefighters, 2 of which are fully certified firefighter EMTs, so they're coming right into being online, with accomplishing onboarding tasks. They will soon be working with the crew, the ESD crew, where they gain so much valuable experience. It's a great partnership for those new firefighters that come out of the academy. They can partner with the full-time firefighters, and they're there doing the training with them and truck checks. So the partnership is working out, and much to helping keep us prepared as much as possible. We have a pool there that can be, pulled from, as long as they pass the proper test. But this is how the partnership works, at least in both. That's what the intent is. Last year, Chief Greaser and I had discussions about the Bullard fleet. And a concern, a valid concern, was we had military vehicles in the fleet. They're hard to maintain, they're hard to find parts for, they're hard to operate, just across the board, just difficult. We have liquidated the Humvee. As of today, the 2.5-ton Stewart is listed on the garage. We'll be moving forward with removing that from the fleet. We got the retired tender out of the fleet. As I talked about last month, we're moving forward with the partnership fit in between those where the D3 dozer has to at least take out one row to get deep in there. This project's moving forward. We've got the PO cut. We put the money up for the Fire BX, which is the attachment that goes on the front. We have the funds amassed for the track loader and the associated equipment there. We've got spec out on the trailer that'll be necessary. And in the interim, we have found an older, low model F-550 tow vehicle that will also be able to afford. Teresa and I had a discussion on down the line if this was going to be something that we could support, but that will also come out. So this piece of that, this total package of this mobile, smaller scale dozer firefighting apparatus, we're hopeful to bring this to the table by the end of the year. It'll be a full service package, and then we can talk about where we go from there and do the business. But I want to bring the board up. This is what we're working on with our grant. The other departments that had tenders, they're contributing that. This is what Boulder is doing to help advance our causes. Wildland fires seem to be a big item here. So we're working in partnership to get this done. Finished out the month of February with, I believe it was 1,098 hours. That was split pretty much 60-40 training and rostering. We're still getting a lot of use out of Station 57. To the workout equipment. Our board, President Falvey, and through Christus and the Bullard Connection, Christus is donating to us for Station 57 some used PT gear from one of their labs. They're replacing it to get the exercise equipment in the PT lab. So we're going to be able to move that to Station 57. That's going to take up that single bay that used to be the EMS bay. There may be an opportunity, and I got another guy from UT back there. I know we want to standardize, but in the meantime, there's something that we can do to help bring something to the table for us. And 3 is a good option. 3. All right. I know that we pushed real hard on our guys and stressed the importance of the zero responses. You can see on the report we had none last month. We've done a little bit of focused recruiting to get some people that are in town. We've got several members that don't live in town, and that contributes a little bit to a lack of being able to immediately respond in. So we put some time, effort, and energy in that, and one of the TCFP firefighters that we just brought on board is literally right there at the station. So we're continually trying to move that far forward. Do you have any questions for me?
What's your assessment on the benefits of having rostering in our stations as far as your ability to make those quick responses?
So the rostering in the station really results in a 14-minute response time to Emerald Bay, which I believe is on the hotspot map. It's right there at the edge of the Flint Boulder district. So when we are rostering down there, we're cutting those responses from 14 minutes down to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate benefit that we're seeing out of it. Yes, we've got people that are sitting in the station for some amount of time, but when they're needed, they're there. And if we see a little competition, if you look at Bullard, right in the middle, right around 188, 117, right about where the split is for the 7 minutes between 57s and 56s, and we seem to get a lot of calls right there. So we end up with, that when we're rostering, we get additional calls.
So in the time that you are able to roster, you certainly are seeing a better response time, but are we able to roster, you have not only about 15 active, so are we able to roster a significant amount of time, or is it just on weekends?
We're rostering about 2 12-hour shifts per week.
Okay.
So we're still maintaining that, and we may only have 2 people there, but we require one is an officer or officer step up, engineer, and the other one position is a must. It has to have an EMT. So we're getting the first out crew like you got at Park and at Red Springs. So yes,
Yeah, the two 12-hour shifts is what I was fishing for, so, and I'm gonna kind of fish a little bit with some of the others, see how well it does. But thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. Chapel Hill, Chief Peterson.
They've been pretty good busy as well. Few things that like I said, we did have our chili supper. We did real well on that there. I think we did better than we did last year. So that was pretty good process. Then also we had one of our myself and my assistant chief helped out our part of the tour out the White House with the kids on the safety, public safety association regional conference with the kids. I thought it came out real well. We helped them out all the time, helping them kids to learn what it is to become a firefighter. I also had one officer went down to Teats and finished up on his technical search courses through the Disaster City. Which if you've ever been to Disaster City, it's pretty good training. You got to go through some of them buildings. So he finished that up. In fact, he did that he works for the task force too. That's what he's doing that for. And also we just had it this last weekend. We hosted a wildland field day at our station. I had 9 people showed up, so we had them certified to get them through the wildland on the skill days. I thought I had 7 plus I had 2 from White House, so it came out real good. And they're working on finishing up the last part of that, so it has more wildland certifications done. Also, I had quite a few members process for application. I already sent 6 of them over, and I got 2 more I'm going to be sending, and I found out we have another one next month. And out of those ones I had so far, there's only, I think, 4 of them have any kind of certification. The rest are all brand new. So I'm working on them real quick. But I did have one of them that did go through part of the process and found out he did not do well in his background, so I had to let him go. So that's part of the process. And also that my officer, my assistant chief, got hurt here, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago on a wildland fire. He's in the rehab. He's got probably about 2 or 3 weeks of left rehab, and then he'll be released and ready to go back to work on his hand. Our training we did in February was Fourth Lancers we had at our station. I had quite a good turnout for that. And then also for next month in April, we're going to have a FRO through the UT Health Center. It's going to be at our station, going through their protocol and going through all what we need to do to keep up with them at our station. And that's open for all the volunteers to show up. There's a website you sign up to get on that list. And also, like I said, she mentioned before about we did help out WISE School for the kids on their career days, small kids. That's pretty good with the little ones. And then also for our breast 136, getting pushed back in. And like I said, I had to take it out the window, not even 2 or 3 hours after we put the thing in. So we got to work on it. Other than that, that's all I have.
Follow on the question I have for her. I mean, I don't know how much you're able to roster. I know that you have, there's 4 or 5 that are pretty responsive all the time. Do you roster much at your station? And about how much does that represent in number of shifts?
Yes.
I don't have that information on hand.
Okay. Yes, I do. Like I said, we got to do it 40 hours in advance to get the hours you need. And especially all the ones that are real short and pick up their hours. They can't pick up the runs. So they get that hours in quicker. So I've been averaging, it varies. I do have one couple, husband and wife, they roster up 4 shifts per month. And that's what they do. And I have other ones that do either 12-hour. I got one guy that do a 12-hour shift. He'll do it at least twice. And I got other ones that do 6-hour shifts as well. And sometimes they'll be on the same time, and then other times they'll be separate, where they work out. And it's anywhere. It's not always on weekends. Most of the time, it's pretty much during the week. They usually do it instead of weekends.
Good. Appreciate it. Discuss with you outside of this. I'd like to kind of get a little bit of feedback on the dividends being paid from having the people rostered.
Yeah, we keep track of those records, and we send them all down.
Yeah, I can't fish it out of the information that I see, so
Okay,
Yeah, ultimately, we'd like visibility, on the seat assignment. We'd like visibility on a dynamic system that we can see when those shifts are staffed around the district. That's really the posture we need to be in. We've been working on some things to bring before you, but we're just not quite there.
Okay. Well, my apologies for getting ahead of you a little bit.
Are you gonna do Flint's tonight, Keith? Okay. I know Flint's not gonna be here. Chief Stone has some family issues, and Wrath is in, the Philippines, so they don't have anybody. Yeah, and Aaron, so, anyway. All right, White House, Chief Tate.
Good evening. So this past month, we have 2 personnel that have completed their support certification and 4 that completed wildland. Forgive me, chiefs, who did the wildland class? Somebody did. Dale? Was that your department? So Chapel Hill hosted a wildland and was able to get us through. Those personnel had already done their online. They just needed skills, so we got that knocked out. We had 1 that attended the spring fire school at A&M and completed his common vehicle rescuer certification. Large incidents that we kind of helped with. Y'all saw the Lindale fire that was in the news. That was the night after our last meeting. There was kind of an all-call sent out. I had 2 of my younger guys, wildland firefighters, went up there, Aaron and Alex, and they got a taste of kind of real wildland firefighting. I mean, not that we don't get it on a regular basis, but it was a much larger scale incident than what they had been on, and I think it was an eye-opener for both of them, and they got some good experience up there. They both came back excited and ready for the next one. Then shortly after that, we had a large fire on 346 in our district that ended up being a 2-day event. They went out there day 1 and were out there 12 or 14 hours and then called it quits for the night. And then we rostered up the next day and sent some guys out there with them the next day to clean up some lines and put additional plow lines in on that and take care of that. Chief Greaser already mentioned we had a meeting today about the tender grant. Went well, got all the prices out there. I was really surprised how close the prices ended up being. I think all 3 bidders were within about $3,000 of each other on the spec. I did find some issues with one of the specs that we'll talk about. Tender coverage, I'm not quite to 100% tender coverage as far as, our goal at White House is to make sure 24/7, 365, whether rostered at the station or a dedicated person that is at home. Now, if the pager goes off, you're getting the tender, but I would say we're probably at about 97% right now. We just have a few holes when all of the available tender drivers are not available. Working on some training on some new personnel for that and kind of some shifts in the way we're going to do it. Kind of traditionally in the fire service, you might have seen in the news yesterday, there was a tender rollover in Oklahoma that killed 2 firefighters. So the chiefs, we just don't take driving the tender lightly. However, I think when you've got, we've kind of always had this rule of if you're under 25 or you're under 21, you're not getting behind the wheel of the tender. I think if those personnel have showed maturity and they've completed other training and stuff like that, Chief Greaser and I have talked about that. I think on a case-by-case basis, we're going to start training some of those personnel to do it, which is going to give us additional available personnel to drive that tender. And I think it's just going to be a slow process for us to determine who we're going to do that and how we're going to do it, make sure we're doing it right. Rostering, you asked about rostering. I had to quickly text my rostering expert and find out. She said right now we're probably averaging about 3 12-hour shifts a week. And we're growing to build that. One of the issues that I've kind of had with rostering when I talk to my personnel is, like one of them said, he said, I'm 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes from the station. Why am I going to go sit at the station? And that's a hard argument for me to battle. He said, I can be at home doing stuff at home, and if the pager goes off, I can drop it and run up there. But we're working to build that through recruiting as well. And, especially a lot of the rostering I'm seeing are these younger guys. They want to be at the station. They want to be interacting with the duty crew regularly and training with them and doing the other things associated. So it'll be a slow shift, but it's getting there. Any additional questions?
Chief Allen?
Good evening. As y'all can see, we've had a pretty busy month of February. We've had
have several into some training. We've got some more going into training starting this month, but as far as our activity, we only had 2 that were inactive. The rostering has been a very big tool for us. We're able to get people at Station 27 with those dual tenders when 21 decides to stay running. That one does have the tendency to leave us and we get it back later. But we are seeing a very big improvement in all of that there. But I did have 3 new applicants processed. I sent them over to aggravate Miss Sherry, let her get those handled for me. And so, any questions, sir?
Just at some point in time, if you kind of get an idea about how many shifts you may be rostering?
On average, it's probably around 6 to 12-hour shifts per week, easily. They do fill in periodically. I don't know if y'all can see that in the report that was submitted in, but there's a...
I can see total hours, but I don't know what it, it doesn't tell me who's there, how it represents. But
Okay.
That's fair enough. It's close.
Yep.
What I'm trying to gauge. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Just want to remind all you chiefs too to make sure, talking about your first responder deal, make sure that you don't let them expire. We went through that a couple years ago. Just make sure you keep an eye on that and you get your paperwork in on time. Because EMS has to sign it and sometimes that's a slow go. So, anyway. All right, item 14 will be closed session. The board will convene a closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-071, 072, and 074. No action shall be taken while the board is in closed session. Any final action, final decision, or final vote shall be taken after the board reconvenes in open session. And I would ask everyone to clear the room. We will be in closed session at 7:33. call the meeting back to open session at 8:05 PM. There's no action to be taken after closed session. And this time I'll ask for any remarks by any of the commissioners or board members that'd like to make them. Brent, you have anything?
No, I don't think so.
Matt? No, sir. All right. Just want to thank you guys for the hard work you do and continue to do what you do, and we appreciate it. As of that, we are adjourned at 8:06 PM.